this is a distribution. You know, people say during this climate, we have people call in that maybe bought their property in 1983 or something, and their basis is so low that they're thinking, well, everybody else, the property values are down, why can't you lower my value? Well, it doesn't go based on what's happening in the marketplace unless your Prop 13 value is within the last few years. Because we have, last year, we lowered every property down to about the end of 2004, about the third quarter of 2004. This year, we're probably about, and we'll look at least back to 2000, just to see. Because in some neighborhoods, now, you know, those of you who live in Land Park or East Sacramento or Arden probably haven't been affected as much as those properties. They definitely haven't been, as those properties in Elk Grove, North Potomac, Rancho Cordova. They have been impacted a lot more than around the central core of the city. But in our county, 10%, a little over 10% still have a 1975 base. And then it stratifies down until we have almost 25% now with the 2008 base, and that's because a lot of them are temporary. Most of them, like I said, from 2004 to 2007 have been incorporated into that 2003. The little numbers that you see here are mostly commercial properties that haven't been lowered. Now this year, that's my concern, is that we are going to see a lot more commercial properties having to be lowered. And it's not just across the board, it's more if they've lost their tenants. And they've lost them for a long period of time. So that's, let's see, I showed you this earlier, the number we had before, and what the percentage of it was for across the board, the total number of parcels. This is the number of appeals that we've had in that time frame. And the appeal, I always encourage the public to call our office. We can review their value automatically. And we do it. And we do it for no cost to them. They don't need to hire a tax rep to have them, you know, look at our, have them fill out paperwork to ask us to revalue their property. We will do that automatically. So, but I always tell people, we always tell people towards the end of the filing period, which is November 30th, to go ahead and file an appeal. Even though we're going to look at the value, go ahead and file an appeal, protect your rights. I tell people, really, the only time you should file an appeal is when we've looked at it, after we've reviewed it, and you still disagree, then file an appeal. But before that, you don't need to file an appeal. But the last time around, because we weren't very proactive, we ended up with about 8,000 appeals. This year, we're projecting around 8,000 or 9,000 this year. But several of those will be the ones toward the end of the period where we told them, go ahead and file, and we've already taken care of their value. Of the 85,000 we lowered automatically in May, we had another 10,000 call in, maybe about 12,000 call in and asked us to review their property. Of that, about half of them we actually lowered further, or didn't, somehow missed. And so we ended up a little over 90,000, so the 85 we started out with. I didn't think that was too bad considering we're looking at mass appraisals. We're looking at several 100,000 properties, and to have not quite captured 6,000 of them is not bad. It's certainly a small percentage of the overall marketplace. And this is something I'm very proud of. When people say government's expanding, because I was at an economic forum just this week, and they were saying there's 3 sectors in our community that are expanding: education and health, government, and then the last one was it was a small entity. Anyway, I'm not. You know, my office, we had over 180 positions back in 1990. And today, almost 20 years later, we have less than 180. even though I have on the books 178 positions, I have less than 170 because for the last year and a half, I have not been hiring backfilling. When people leave, I just leave the position empty. I didn't want to get in a situation where I had to lay people off. And so now we're bare bones, but we're getting by, and I'm really going to ask the board to not be cut this year so that we can continue to do our job in a timely fashion. And that's all I have. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer.
I've heard somebody, like a scare tactic, I don't know if it's scare tactic, but saying if you go and ask for your assessment to go down, you'll be one of the first people to be brought up when it changes. That's a complete lie, right? Okay. I mean, I was
we don't have the time. We don't have the time to somehow identify those people. And
yeah, that's what I figured.
You're safe, Steve.
Exactly.
But if you ask for a reevaluation in the hopes that it will go down, there is a chance that it might go up.
Oh, there always is that. Well, wait a minute. It might go up if you've already been lowered.
Okay.
Okay. Because we're doing mass, some we probably lowered too much, some we probably didn't lower enough. We always hear from the ones we didn't lower enough, but normally we don't hear from those that are too, but sometimes they're greedy and they'll call in. And then we'll take a look at it and then we'll say, oh no, we went too low.
But if it's never been lowered,
then we can't do anything about it because it's a problem.
then you can't raise it more than 1%.
Yeah. The only time that can happen is if we have, it's a maybe a purchase price that's not represented by a broker, and or a new house that was built that wasn't sold, that we put in a value, and we put in a value, and then they appeal it and say, oh, it should be lower. We look at it and say, oh, we made a mistake when we did it, so we need to increase it. Yeah. Yes.
Is it true that if somebody asks to have their tax base lowered and then when the property values increase, that they're usually the first ones to have their value increased again?
Well, that's just what that's
oh, I
just
didn't
what
hear
it
that.
is. No, absolutely a
fallacy.
fallacy.
Okay.
Yeah, we do it strictly by, yeah, it's just really the whole county, and actually, most of that's done by a computer, not by a person. So no, we're not pushing out people.
A situation of a neighbor of mine that purchased a house a couple of years ago for $500,000, made a request to have it decreased in value, and I don't think that it was granted, filed an appeal, but now that person has taken a reverse mortgage on the property and has an appraisal, and it has indeed, as far as the appraisal is concerned, reduced itself by $115,000 or something like that. Is that appraisal, if he went back to the appeals on that, would that appraisal be looked at? As
well, they can submit that appraisal, whether or not, how much weight we can give into that appraisal is the question, really. And it all depends. I mean, some weight would be given to it, obviously. But then it would be what other evidence is there out there as to what that value is.
Well, the problem is it's a manufactured home, and they have no, they have no way of pitting it against another.
And the other thing is
an area where manufactured homes are.
Sure, and then the other thing is when was that appraisal done? Was the appraisal done in August, or was it done in January, February, March? You know, so. Yes.
So,
well, I just first year to answer the question.
So if you purchase a home brand new, say 1999, would anything have changed between 1999 and 2004, or 1999 and 2008? Well,
yes, it would have went up.
It
would have went up, and then it would have been like I said.
Let's say it's out broke.
Okay. Well, every property in the county from 2001 to 2005 increased and doubled or more in value. So now it's a matter of has it come down in half or so before it would be affecting your assessed value. Because your assessed value is still based on that purchase price originally plus 2% a year.